Hi, it's the end of May, so it's time to look back on the books that I read in the second half of the month. And I seem to have read, I did read quite a few. It did help going away on holiday for a week. Right, what did I start with? I started with Living Things by Munir Hachemi, which comes out on the 19th of June. Now, this is a Fitzcarraldo edition. And it's about 4 graduates in the south of France. Munir's on a campsite, and there's some very weird people on this campsite, and and these 4 lads, they're not the most accommodating of neighbours. They went to the south of France wanting to do the grape harvest for the summer, but in the end they end up working with battery hens and fertilising corn. Very weird jobs. They have to sort of catch the hens and inject them, and all the way through they're convinced that there's something sinister going on, but they don't know what. The book itself, it talks about writing journals, about storytelling, about being a reliable storyteller. And he sort of references Hemingway, sort of the iceberg technique, where part of the story's above, but a lot of the story's below the surface, Then I read one that was longlisted from the Carnegie, for the Carnegie Award that comes out, the winner's announced next month in June. And this was Greenwild, The World Behind the Door by Pari Thomson. Now, this was an absolutely magical book. I enjoyed this one. You've got Daisy Thistledown, and her mother Layla sends her to school for the first time in her life. Layla is an investigative journalist, and she goes all over the world, and normally she takes Daisy with her. But this time, as she's due to go to the Amazon, she thinks it's going to be too dangerous. So she puts Daisy into a school. But then Mum goes missing. And Daisy, there's no way she's staying in that school. She's going to find her mum. So she sets off, and she finds herself walking through a door and entering this magical world, Greenwild, that's filled with botanists with magical powers. It's filled with fantastic plants. And for the first time in her life, she makes friends. Because she's always been here, there and everywhere with Mum, she never had a chance to make friends before. And these friends, they all gather together to try and find clues about where her mum is. It's an exciting read, I would think, for a middle grader. I enjoyed it. You have tension at the end, you have the building of the friendship, and then you have the magic. I like that one. It never made the shortlist, but I like that one. Then I moved on to the new one by Evie Woods, who wrote The Lost Bookshop, The Lost Bookshop, that I absolutely loved. This comes out on the 18th of July, and it's called The Story Collector. Did I mention that? I can't remember. I enjoyed it. It was a good read, but I didn't enjoy it as much as The Lost Bookshop. The Lost Bookshop seemed to be full of magical realism, and this not so much. Sarah goes to Ireland on a whim almost. She's walking out of her marriage and intends to spend Christmas with her sister in Boston. But a chance article she spots in a newspaper sends her to Ireland, and she ends up in this village, Thornwood. Wandering about Thornwood, she finds a diary hidden in a tree from 1911. We are in 2011 in the book, so you've got a 100-year gap. And this is the diary of Anna, who's helping an American called Harold to collect stories of the fairy folk, the Irish fairy folk, the good people. And we have her story and how she crosses paths with the twins from the manor house, the Hawley twins, with disastrous consequences. And both girls, Sarah and Anna, are coming to terms with the loss. And there's a bit of romance. I found Sarah's story a little bit predictable, but Anna's story I loved, and I adored Harold. A real gentleman. And I challenge any of you not to like Harold if you pick up this book. Then another one that I read is Evie Wyld's new one, The Echoes. And this comes out on the 1st of August. And it's multiple perspective, multiple timelines. And you've got Max, who's a ghost, watching his partner Hannah. He's watching her grieving. And he's hoping that while he's watching her, he will find out why she never let him meet her parents or even talk to her parents. She'd escaped from Australia. Her mum in turn, she'd escaped from Australia to go to London. Her mum in turn ran off from London to go to Australia. And it appears that Max's flat is 2 streets away from where her grandmother grew up. Grandmother had a flat. It's in 3 sections. You've got before, which is Max and Hannah, their relationship. You've got after, which is Max telling the story as he's watching as a ghost. And then you've got then, which is Hannah's childhood. So you've got those 3 perspectives, 3 different timelines. You've got Echoes. Echoes is the name of the place where Hannah grew up in Australia, and where there's actually an Aboriginal school for girls, Aboriginal girls to be educated. And there's also a graveyard, and it's a generational trauma passed down. And Max's last section is so sad, so sad. But there's a darkness around Hannah, what she suffered and what she hid. Really like that one. Then I read one that my friend passed on to me, Britt-Marie Was Here by Fredrik Backman. And I read Man Called Ove, and I expected something similar-ish because he writes such good characters. And we've got Britt-Marie, who's in her 60s. She's left her cheating husband and she tries to get a job, but her past years have been spent cleaning and looking after her husband, Kent. She ends up as a temporary caretaker at a recreation centre that's due for closure in a little place called Borg, which is a dying town. It's full of misfits. It's even got a football team, but no pitch. And bizarrely, she ends up as the coach of a football team. The town take to her, and she in turn cares for them. She's a very sort of OCD person. Everything has to be cleaned in exactly the same way. Everything has to be listed. I didn't expect the ending because I thought he was leading to a different ending, but I didn't expect the ending I got. But it's sad, it's heartwarming, full of friendship and full of community. Then I read another arc, and this one comes out on the 6th of June, and it's Elizabeth Macneal's new one, The Burial Plot, another gothic thriller. And it's all to do with the Victorian obsession with death. Because, in Victorian eras, Highgate was established in 1839. Bonnie has left home, and she's now in London's underworld with her partner, Crawford. And they're sort of tricksting people, sort of getting money with false pretenses type thing. But when a trick goes wrong, Crawford pushes her to be a lady's maid at this house, this huge house on the Thames, where Aubrey Moncrief lives with his daughter. He's a widower. His wife has died. And Bonnie persuades Aubrey to why not use some of the spare land to build a cemetery, because at that time the cemeteries in Victorian times were overflowing. And Crawford joins the household as well, and Bonnie begins to wonder, was there another reason why he pushed me to be this lady's maid? And it's a story about manipulation. And you wonder whether Crawford actually has Bonnie's best interests at heart, because she's always looking over her shoulder. That was excellent. Then what I read on holiday, couple I read on holiday, The Wisdom of Sally Red Shoes by Ruth Hogan. Again, this was passed on to me by my friend to read. And this is all to do with death and grieving. Mash has been grieving for the past 12 years. She can't seem to break the cycle. And then she meets Kitty, who's exuberant, in her 70s, likes Rolo discoing, has fallen in love and is engaged. You know, she's a larger-than-life character. And she also comes across Sally Red Shoes, who is a bag lady who wanders through the cemetery feeding the birds and singing. And these two women give Masha a burst. That, you know, that there's, you don't sing for yourself, you sing for the people you lost, you know, that type of thing. There's another story bubbling through, and that's Alice and her son Matty. And theirs is quite a sad little story. And that sort of bubbles underneath as well. I wasn't sure of the ending. I still can't make up my mind whether I like the ending or not. But, yeah, that's me. And then the final one I read this month was Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, and it's a second in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. And we go back to Funicular, this little cafe where you can step back into the past. You just have to wait for this woman to vacate her table, sit down, have a cup of coffee that's poured out to you, and go back into the past for as long as the coffee is warm. We've got 4 stories again of 3 who go back into the past and 1 who actually goes into the future. And again, full of warmth, tinges of sadness, and the repetition of the rules being repeated all the time. It's a Japanese thing, it must be, this gentle, calming repetition. And again, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I need to pick up the next ones in the series when I spot them. So, a lovely second half of the month. I have seemed to have got through a lot of books this May. Book of the month, I'm still going with my book of the first half of the month, because I enjoyed a lot of the books, but there wasn't really one to beat it. And it's Clover Stroud's The Giant on the Skyline, this memoir about landscape and home and belonging. And I just thought that was absolutely magical. So The Giant on the Skyline is my book of May. So we're heading for the summer now. June is next door. So happy reading. Take care.